Let's talk more specifically about postmodernism. Let's unpack the ideology a bit more. Now, chances are you've come across names like Michel Foucault, Jacques Derrida, Jean-Francois Lyotard, Stanley Fish, Richard Rorty, Frank Lantricchia, Andrea Dworkin. If their names are not familiar, their ideas will be, certainly. They are the major players. Point number one about postmodernism. Postmodernism rejects ultimate or absolute truth. There is no ultimate or absolute truth, they say. You have to find your own subjective truths, plural, with a lowercase t. Live your truth, as Oprah says. There is no true self in God's image to be actualized by disciplining your desires. As I mentioned earlier, takhalluk and tahaqquk. You must invent your true self. Self-invention. By engaging your desires. I saw another movie about a month ago called Avengers. It was a commercial before the movie that caught my eye. It's a 30-second commercial. You have this young woman, millennial. She has a t-shirt with a rainbow on it, a homosexual advocate. And these are direct quotes. She says, "Look, here's the thing about Diet Coke. It's delicious. It makes me feel good. Life is short. Just do you." They love that. Just do you. Whatever it is. Diet Coke. Because I can. Beautiful. Again, quintessential postmodernism. Right before the movie. Well, I couldn't even enjoy the movie. Just do me? Okay, what if I like to torture animals? Just do me? Ajib and gharib. Postmodernist philosophy here is actually self-contradictory. To say that there is no absolute truth is to make a statement that is absolutely true. In other words, they're saying the only absolute truth is that there is no absolute truth. Postmodernists tend to be radically skeptical about everything, right, except their own skepticism. However, contradictions don't seem to bother them because the intellect has been devalued. Point number two, postmodernism denies objective morality. As we said, you have this strain of nominalism where formal and final causes are rejected. Morality is totally fluid, they say, and relative. Now, the asas, the foundation of the Abrahamic tradition, is love of God and love of your fellow human being. And that is absolutely fundamental. If you read the New Testament, if you read rabbinical writings, talk to a rabbi, talk to a pastor, Imam al-Razi, he defined Islam. He said, "Al-ibadatu lil-khaliq wa rahmatu lil-khalq." He said, Islam is the worship of the Creator and showing compassion towards the creation. However, as Abrahamic believers, this is a very important point. We don't conflate acceptance with love necessarily. We don't conflate acceptance with love. In other words, we can love people and simultaneously consider some of their behavior as morally reprehensible. Postmodernists tend to conflate love with acceptance, so this idea that if you really loved your transgender cousin, you would accept him totally for who he or she or she is. Z-E, an actual pronoun, one of the many pronouns that people in the academy have fabricated that are now, at least in Canada, have proposed laws to compel people to use. Now this leads to another contradiction in postmodernist philosophy. Postmodernists are highly intolerant of intolerance. It is as if they say, respect everyone, you idiot. I remember, just do you, that's called virtue signaling, right? That sounds like the right thing to say, but they don't actually practice it. What they mean is just do you. as long as you agree with me, and if you don't, then you're a bigot. You need to change your beliefs. I was a tutor at the GTU for a while, tutoring a Christian sister in Hebrew, kind of strange, Muslim guy tutoring a Christian student in Hebrew. Anyway, she saw me a few months after our tutoring sessions from a distance, and she said, "Adi," she wanted to give me a hug. And I said, "No, I don't hug." She said, "What?" I said, "I don't hug women." And I had to explain it to her. She said, "Really?" She put out her hand and wanted to shake my hand. So I don't shake hands. So she said, "I'm so offended." She was serious. "I'm so offended. You won't shake my hand because I'm a woman?" So I turned the tables on her. Right? I played the victim. Right? And I told her I was doing this. I said, "What? You're offended? I'm an oppressed minority in America. I have brown skin. I'm a Muslim. And my religious beliefs offend you? I'm offended you're offended." She said, "Oh my God. You're so right." I said, "I'm just kidding." But this is why traditional or religiously confessional students, mu'mineen, are so reluctant, that is to say, afraid, to take a theological or moral stance in a university classroom. To say, for example, that pantheism or incarnationalism is incorrect theology, or to say that homosexuality is sexually perverse, is to invite upon oneself a hailstorm of ad hominem epithets, such as arrogant, ignorant, antiquated, dogmatic, homophobic, transphobic, bigoted traditionalists. Postmodernists are dogmatically opposed to dogma. Point number 3. Postmodernist literature is often convoluted, incoherent, and condescending. It is form way over substance. Its pseudo-profundity is often perceived by young believers in college as just too deep and insightful for me to understand. They think to themselves, I must be an idiot. I just don't get it. Right? It's kind of like modern art. I don't know if you've ever been to a museum of modern art. My daughter took a class. She took a college class. And so we took a field trip to the MoMA in San Francisco, the Museum of Modern Art. We were there for about 15 minutes. We scratched our heads and left. So there is this, wallahi, there is this portrait. It was completely blank. And it's called The Mirror. And there's this crowd of people looking at it going, "Oh, wow. What is this? It's so profound." And I kind of look at my daughter like, "Are we looking at the same thing?" There was this pile of sticks in the corner. Pile of sticks. And people were looking at it. Amazing sculpture. Amazing work. There was another one, wallahi. I felt like my 4-year-old could have done a better job. It was crayon scribbles. Wallahi. It was crayon scribbles. Yeah. And people looking at it, wow. People were like having these cathartic experiences. We assume it must be deep and profound because it's in a museum, but it's the emperor's new clothes. There's nothing there. This is how their literature is. Postmodernist literature, it sounds deep and profound. It is nonsense. Nonsense. They actually give an award, an annual reward, to who can write the most incoherent text. And this professor at UC Berkeley, this Methodist professor, she keeps winning the award. It's just this kind of speak they have amongst each other. They purposely write incoherently to impress each other. It's nonsense. Anyway, these believers, because of this, they feel a strong sense of inadequacy and embarrassment for both their inability to grasp the convoluted literature and for their, quote, simple belief in God, morality, right and wrong, and after. They're actually scared to say, "I believe in this, I think this is right, I think that's wrong." They're ridiculed. Right? For many of these young believers, there are only 2 viable options. I call it selling out or checking out. In other words, attempt to change the very face of the religion in order to mitigate the hurt feelings of certain individuals who are offended by the morality in religious texts, or to leave the religion altogether because they just don't want to deal with it. So the sellout says, yes, I'm Muslim, but I don't believe in this or that verse in the Quran or this or that hadith. The checkout says, Muslim? No, not anymore. I used to be, but now I'm enlightened.